We are at the Net Events 2018 conference in San Jose, California, and we have the pleasure to talk with Damon Ennis, who is Senior Vice President of Product for Silver Peak. Damon Ennis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, thank you, Guy.
For a lot of readers, Silver Peak means probably SD-WAN, which is software-defined one. And as we know, we talk a lot about it during the conference. Software-defined is like everywhere today. And the idea for you is to propose a solution that combine different elements like MPLS, internet connection, private line, in a highly flexible network solution. Could you explain a little bit what you're trying to do?
Exactly. So the wide area network is in existence to join enterprise offices together in a networking fashion, but primarily the job of that wide area network is to connect the users to the applications. That's why the network exists. Now there's many different transport technologies out there. You mentioned MPLS, Internet, 4G LTE. The goal of an SD-WAN is to let the enterprise combine all that transport as though it's a virtual pool of bandwidth, and then describe at a business intent level how they want the applications to perform independent of what the actual underlying transport is. So as an example, the business may have MPLS, Internet, 4G LTE, soon to be 5G, but what the business wants to say is voice needs a certain level of performance guarantee. Voice traffic, for example, needs to have less than 50 milliseconds of latency, no jitter and no loss, whereas guest Wi-Fi can be best effort. They want to describe that at a very high level in an intuitive graphical user interface and let the underlying automation of SD-WAN decide which packets go on which links at any given point in time.
So when you think, when you're referring SD-WAN, do you think that mean about the same thing as an intent-based network, or do you think a little bit different?
I think that SD-WAN is an example of an intent-based network, yes. The goal, again, is that the business user or the network administrator that's responsible for running the business wants to describe the behavior he wants to see in his network without having to go in and manually configure 500 or 1,000 devices using a command line interface. They want to describe that intent at a high level and let the automation of the SD-WAN, in Silver Peak's case, our orchestrator, take care of making sure which packets go on which links at any given point in time, and in real time adjusting that depending on real-time measurements of loss, latency, jitter within the network.
Okay. Silver Peak was founded in 2004.
In 2004, yes.
2004, and you launched the first product the year after. It was an NS series. This was for the historical perspective. But now you're focusing more on SD-WAN. And so at that time, in 2004, the cloud didn't exist, or we didn't talk very much about it. Today, it's everywhere. Do you think the SD-WAN is a prerequisite for a very cloud solution, very efficient, or how does that work? I mean, does the cloud push the SD-WAN, or do you need the SD-WAN to push the cloud, or how does that work?
I think it's both. I think the transition of applications from the enterprise data center to the cloud is what gave us the opportunity for SD-WAN. In two reasons. One, it made enterprises become comfortable with the fact that they're already leveraging the internet for an increasing proportion of their traffic. Secondly, those cloud-based applications, things like Office 365, are best served with a direct-to-internet path. So as opposed to, in the historical context, accessing the internet via backhauling your traffic over MPLS from branch office to data center and then out to the internet, SD-WAN lets you access those cloud-based applications directly on an internet path, which gives the applications the best performance and saves that expensive MPLS bandwidth from being consumed. So it's something that enabled the transition because it let enterprises be comfortable with SD-WAN, and now it's become a key function of SD-WAN. SD-WAN solutions need to be able to deliver secure local internet breakout for the best performance for SaaS-based applications.
So as we said, you are focusing mostly now on SD-WAN. You're proposing everything you're proposing comes in hardware and the software. Are you totally neutral about the way you are proposing your solutions to the client? And how does that work with the way you're pricing the solution? I suppose when a customer is buying hardware solution, it's buying upfront, and when he's buying the software, it's more a subscription model. How does that work?
Yeah, so fundamentally we see ourselves as a software company. There's nothing special in any hardware that you get from Silver Peak that has any performance-built ASICs or anything like that. So we've really decoupled the software from the hardware, and in any of the solutions that you look at from Silver Peak, they're always available in either a hardware form factor or a software form factor. But the way the pricing model is that we charge a subscription basis for the software. It's priced monthly, although we actually, the customers typically purchase a year or 3 years or 5 years or 7 years in advance for the subscription to the software. And then the hardware is purchased separately, and the hardware is typically sold at something that's close to our cost. So really we see the hardware as just an enabler for us to deliver the software. The software itself can live on Silver Peak hardware. It can live on commodity servers in a branch office or a data center on top of a hypervisor. It can live in the cloud, in AWS, in Azure, in Google, GCE, Google's compute engine.
So it's up to the user to choose either way, but which one they like the most generally?
It's up to the user to choose either way. Fundamentally, when they're buying the SD-WAN solution from Silver Peak, they're buying the software subscription to what we call our base license, and then they determine whether they want to deploy it on hardware or Silver Peak hardware or commodity hardware or in the cloud. Now, the one dynamic that's interesting with SD-WAN is that a lot of the deployments are large branch office or retail type deployments, 500 or 1,000 nodes that are all connected via an SD-WAN fabric. And many times in that situation, even though a customer may like a pure software model, it's easier in the branch office or the retail store to have a single piece of hardware, an appliance that you just simply plug in the internet cable, plug in the power, the software is already there, it's up and running and connected. And again, we're not charging any premium for the hardware, so it's just as cost effective to the customer as buying a commodity server and installing a hypervisor. It's a plug and play. Exactly. Just plug and play. Yes, we'll drop ship the device, the appliance to the end location. An unskilled worker can plug in power, plug in the Ethernet or internet cable. The device will phone home, register with the customer's orchestrator. They approve the device and they're up and running with their SD-WAN fabric.
During the conference, we talked a lot about security and the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in that special field. Are you working on that? Are you using a lot of AI to improve the way your solutions are working?
Yeah, I think a twofold question. First, on the security side, our SD-WAN fabric is built on a fully meshed tunnel of 256-bit AES encrypted tunnels that is fully automated via our orchestrator. So the fabric itself is completely secure, then the applications are laid on top of that. That's the first part in terms of security. In terms of AI, we're leveraging some machine learning techniques within our software running on our devices to learn about new and emerging applications on the network. So one example that's very prevalent today is voice or video traffic. There are hundreds of voice and video applications within the network and that are emerging all the time as SaaS-based solutions on the internet. And while we may recognize many of those applications today, a new application could pop up tomorrow. And we've got the intelligence within our software to look at things like inter-packet arrival times and packet distribution and make an inference that this new application that we haven't seen before is in fact voice or is in fact video, and then give it the right kind of service level SLAs you want for voice or video.
So do you think AI will play a bigger and bigger role in the next years, especially in security?
Absolutely. So in SD-WAN in particular, I think AI via automation is going to play a bigger and bigger role in SD-WAN and in network in general. We talked a lot in the conference about application-driven networking and what that means. And so there's a few different ways that can evolve, but what we want to to enable within the Silver Peak SD-WAN solution is more and more predictive modeling of the network. So a very simple example we like to use is we're collecting all these statistics about all the underlying WAN topologies on a second-by-second basis, so we can notice things like, oh, this one internet link seems to have a problem every Monday morning at 9 a.m. Well, once we know that, we can avoid that link going forward, and then perhaps send you a report telling you that that link has that problem every Monday morning at 9 a.m. You can raise that with your service provider and get that problem fixed. So it's this sort of learning the emergent behavior of the network and then being able to raise that so that a human can make an intelligent decision about what to do.
Is it difficult to hire AI specialists here in the Silicon Valley?
It's difficult to hire all kinds of people in the Silicon Valley. All kinds of software engineers are in great demand. And I think you'll hear that from any tech company that you talk to. So it's important for us to make Silver Peak an exciting place to work and to have an exciting technology, to let our engineers learn new techniques and new programming techniques and new programming languages every day so that they enjoy their job and become a productive part of our company.
Okay, so we're going to finish with this positive note. Damon Ennis, thank you very much.
Keith, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.